Hi y'all, this is Susan from Grace Journaling, and today we are going to make this adorable card. Just kind of a card for friendship card, whatever. It's got coffee on it, so you can send it to your favorite coffee lover. It says, hand over the coffee and no one gets hurt. So we're going to create this cute little card. We're going to be using the Jesus and Coffee stamp set from Sweet and Sassy Stamps. We're also going to be using the Sizzix Thinlits, the Lori Whitlock Mix and Match flowers. We're going to be using the large flower, I believe it is. I have to look here, sorry. Nope, it's not the small one, it's the bigger, larger one. So we're going to use this shape flower, and then we're also going to use the another piece that is, I believe it's this one. So, and we're also going to be using the leaf shape. So we're going to be using our Sizzix a lot today. You're going to also need some paper. You're also going to need some embossing powder and a VersaMark pad. So let's kind of get started. Move this stuff out of our way here. All right. So we're going to start off, and you're going to need some paper. This is some black cardstock. It's going to be cut, folded in landscape. It is 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches. We're going to score it at 4 1/4. You're going to need this coffee print. This is from the Echo Park coffee paper pack. So we're going to have this. This is also from the same, well, let's go on first here. Okay, for the coffee print, you're going to cut this 5.5 by 4 1/4. You're going to also need the striped, which is also from the same paper pad. This is cut to 5.5 by 3. And you're going to need another strip of the black cardstock cut to 5.5 2/4. And then you're just going to need some miscellaneous colors for the flowers and the leaves. These are all from the Entirely Textures paper pack from the Paper Studio. Just get it over at Hobby Lobby. It's not cardstock, it's just regular paper. So that's what we're going to be using to make the flowers. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here is we need to score this page, the paper. We're going to score it at, I believe it's 4 1/4. Yeah, 4 1/4. Oops, get it on there right. 4 1/4. We're doing it landscape. We're going to fold it like this, and the card is going to stand like this. So we're going to be working across here. Let me set this thing away, and let me pull out my bone folder and get that good and flat. So we can set this aside for just a little bit. So what we're going to do first is we are going to attach this to the coffee. We're going to go in and do that. That way it gives the glue just a little bit of time to dry. I'm just using art glitter glue. I find it works a lot better than double-sided tape. Nothing has ever fallen off of any card I've ever made as long as I've used the art glitter glue. When I've used double-sided tape, they tend to have a problem of coming off occasionally. So we're just going to kind of want to put this on there. The nice thing about the art glitter glue is it is able to kind of reposition it to a certain point. So you just want to get that on there even, where you have about the same at the top as you have at the bottom of the coffee print. Okay, so now we're going to set that aside and let that dry. And so I'm going to pull out my Misty, and we are going to stamp the sentiment onto the card. And the, let's see. Yeah, it's going to need to go that way, sorry. All right, so we're going to do the sentiment and everything over here on this far left side. We are going to be using this cute coffee cup that comes with the Jesus and Coffee, or Coffee and Jesus and Coffee stamp set from Sweet and Sassy Stamps. That's going to fit over there. And then we have the cute little sentiment that says, hand over the coffee and no one gets hurt. So we want to position those on the card evenly, the best of our ability. That looks pretty good. And then we're going to stamp it with our VersaMark ink. But first I'm going to go over this with the anti-static bag here that kind of helps keep the embossing powder from going all over the place. So we're just going to ink these up with the VersaMark. Make sure they're good and stamped. One little hint, when you're going to use a sentiment like this that's a little bit on the fine side, you know, smallish, you want to use a fine embossing powder. That just keeps those really where they pop and they show. I'm going to leave this on there for the time being. We're going to pull out my piece of paper that I use for embossing, and we're just going to put the fine embossing powder over the sentiment and the little coffee cup. And I'm just using it's actually embossing powder, opaque, bright white, super fine from Wow. I really have liked this. This is the first time I've really used theirs, and I'm really liking it. Now the H didn't get very much, so I'm going to put that in there and see if maybe I can get that H to get a little bit more on there. So you see there's a little bit of loose on there. We want to make sure that gets off, because that will show. So we're just going to brush it off with just a regular small kind of paintbrush. Just get as much of the excess stuff off. Usually by running the anti-static bag over it, you get most of that, but occasionally you still get some. Alright, so now I'm going to just pour the embossing powder back into the container, the leftover, what I didn't use. And I'm going to put the lid on it because I have a bad habit of spilling my embossing powder all over the table. Alright, so now we're going to take our heat gun and we're going to let it warm up, and then we're going to heat this to melt it. So I'm going to get it where it's warm. Start it off where it's warm first, where it gets warm, and it goes a little bit faster. And then you just start using the heat to melt the embossing powder. It's hot, so you sometimes may have to use your bone folder or something similar to hold it down for you so it doesn't blow around. Okay, so that's good and melted. So we're going to let that cool and harden. If you touch it too soon, you can smear it. So we're going to let that kind of sit over there. So while it's doing that, I'm going to take my stamps and just put them onto my Lawn Fawn stamp chamois to get the excess stuff off. And we'll just let them sit over there. We won't be using my Misty anymore, so I will put it away. Put this away as well. So now let's go ahead and let's make the flowers. Now the flowers are made out of two pieces. It's the pink and the yellow, and then we use the green to make the leaves. So let's cut out our flowers first. We've got to cut out two of those pink ones. We're going to use our Sizzix here. So I'm just going to lay that down, and we'll have to make it two passes because I only have one set of these dies. It'd be nice on these dies sometimes, on some of these, if they came with multiples of the same one. Just to save us a little bit of time going through this. So we've got the first one out. And it actually came out of the mold, or the die. So now we're going to run it through one more time to get one more little flower. Run it through. I like to try to do all these kind of things in steps. Like I'm going to do all of the Sizzix all at one time, so I can just put this tool away. It's a really bulky tool. It's wonderful. I love it, but it's a little bit bulky and it takes up some room on your desktop, so your workspace. All right, so we got those done. So now we're going to cut out the yellow flowers. We're using this die. Again, these are from the Lori Whitlock Mix and Match Flowers. It's just from Sizzix. So we're going to run that one through. We're going to get all of these parts for the flowers and the greenery done. So this one, it sticks in there really well usually. I have a automatic pencil, and it is actually the perfect size for pushing these out. So I'm going to pull that out gently so we don't tear it, because I've done that before as well. And we're going to run it through one more time. Sorry if the camera is shaking somewhat. It unfortunately shakes my whole table doing this. So we don't need that anymore, so we can put that down in the scrap bin and just poke out this flower, the flower center. Set that over there. So now we're going to cut out our green leaves. We're going to have to cut out 4 of those. We're almost finished with the die machine. So we're going to cut out 4 of these little leaves. This card is a little more involved than a lot of the cards I do because of having to cut out all of these individual pieces with the Sizzix. It's time consuming, and you know, I know it doesn't necessarily make for riveting TV or video, but it's got to be done if we're going to finish the card. So we're going to do this as quickly as we can so we can get on to the actual putting together of the card. 2 more. And I'm sorry if any of y'all are getting seasick from the tabletop shaking while we're doing this. And 1 more little greenery, and then we will be done with the Sizzix and shaking the camera. All right, so we're going to set that in the scrap bin. We're going to feed that in there a little bit, move that off of out of the way. All right, so we have the components now to do the flowers. So before we're going to do that, we're going to actually go ahead and mount this onto the card front that we've already started creating here. So we're just going to put on the glue. And we're just going to mount this into the center. We want about the same amount of the stripes at the top as we have at the bottom. We're going to even that up. We have a nice little card front. Just like that. That didn't melt. Look at that. Oh no. All right, so we have a problem here. Right there. Our card, we did not get it fully embossed and the embossing dried. So we're going to have to put this in here and try very, very hard to get it mounted in the same position or very close to the same position. That looks pretty close. All right, let's try this again. This is one of those things that happens sometimes. You have to pay attention to what you're doing. So it's actually a good lesson to show this because now you get to see how to fix this. How we hope to fix this, let's say. All right, so we're gonna stamp this on there. We have it stamped. I'm going to leave that on there for the time being in case I need to come back. And we're going to put some more embossing powder just down here on the bottom. It may get a little bit at the top, but that's okay. You know, in other places, but mostly right there on the bottom. I'm just going to shake that off. It lined up pretty good. We're going to have to come over here just a little bit, and we can brush off this corner. Brush that off. All right, so let's put what's left of the embossing powder that we didn't use back into the container. And let's try this again. Let's heat emboss this again to get that to be dry. So we're going to let it get warm, and then we're going to turn it on here, and I'm just not going to let it go until I know it's melted. That should be melted. So let's let it kind of sit here for a little bit. I want to make sure it's dry before I touch it. And it does appear this time. All right, we got it. This time we got it, y'all. No mess. All right, so now we're going to assemble the flowers. Now that we fixed our little mistake, And sometimes they happen. It's just life. So we're going to assemble our little bundles here. I've got to use a couple of brad. I'm just using brass brads. Those aren't the ones I was going to use, but we're going to use them anyway. So we're just going to attach the flower centers to the center of the pink part of the flower, just with the brads, and just tighten them down, just like that. Okay. We're going to do that with the other one as well. Now we're not going to do it on the leaves, although they do have places where you could put the brads. We're not going to do that. We're just going to attach the leaves to the card. First, we're going to get these to lay down flat and tight, like so. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue the card front onto the card base. So I'm just going to use my art glitter glue. And then we're just going to, I like to open it up so I can kind of see. Okay, so we're just going to back that into it, make sure it's even on the bottom, even on the sides, lay it down flat. So we have the card front onto the card base. And so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to attach the flowers. And to do that, we're just going to attach them with a little bit of glue dots, just a glue dot. So I'm going to attach that to the back of the flower, and actually I like to put a couple of these on there to make sure that they hold good and strong, because you don't want your stuff falling off. You know, when you get somebody, you want them to be able to have it and enjoy it for a while. So go on and make sure that you've got it good by putting a couple. So I'm going to put that one down like that. This one's going to superimpose that, go over it. Again, just attach the glue dots to the back. Find one, there it is. And we're just going to attach that to the card like so. Okay, so now we're going to attach the leaves onto the card. Get a hold of them. I like to give just a little bit of glue right here to kind of hold how I want them, just a little bit like that. And we're just going to put them together like so. We're going to do the same way with the other ones. Just a little dot of glue. Like that. And we're going to attach them on the underside of the flowers. This one's going to hang off just the tiniest bit. Let's see if we get, there we go, like that. But we're going to attach it with a glue dot. And just get it underneath there. And how you want it, it's going to kind of hang off the card a little bit, because I think that gives the card a little bit of interest. You may have to fold them slightly to get them into the envelope, but that's okay. Attach another glue dot. As you can see, it really wanted to stick to me and not to the leaves, which is it happens sometimes. There we go, got it to stick. Oh, and the thing is, I am a goober. I put it on the front, the top part of the I'm like really organized today, y'all. You would think, here is this crazy woman trying to teach how to make something and she doesn't even know what she's doing. All right. Glue dot, stick. Okay, so we're going to, again, put this one on the underside here, kind of facing out. Get this under there. Just like that. Get under there. There we go. So we have the finished card, and that's really all there is to it. You can come in here, and I like to kind of fold these up like this just to give it a little bit of texture. They don't look quite so flat. You know, it gives a little bit of dimension to the card to do that. You can do it if you want. If you don't have to, but I like to do it because I think it gives a little bit of dimension to the card. And then you kind of lay them flat so it's not so bad. And you're going to do the same thing on this one. I don't fold them completely together. I just kind of lift up the corners and kind of go like that. And it just gives it a little bit more dimension. So there is our finished card, y'all. As you can see, it was really cute. It's very, very simple to make, and give it to your favorite person who loves coffee. I have a really good friend. She loves coffee. I think she may be getting one of these pretty soon. So y'all have a good day. If you like this video, please leave any comments or questions that you have down below. I've got everything linked in the comment section below. Please follow me on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube at Grace Journaling, or you can visit my blog at gracejournaling.com. I appreciate you watching. Thanks. Have a good day.